Marco Rubio watched every episode of season one. And he
Correct.
saw Rex Tillerson,
Yeah,
and he
correct.
saw Flynn, and
I
he
need,
saw Bolton. So
I need to respond to you, and I know you're going to agree. I'm pretty sure you're going to agree with me. You can watch it on TV, but then when you're cast in season two to be in the show, and
yeah,
you're at the table reads, and you're waiting for your paycheck, and you
you're
see
doing
what
camera blocking.
you're getting camera blocking, you're getting notes from the producer. Like that's different than watching it on TV.
That's
Dan,
true. I agree, and
yeah,
that's but
yeah.
I and we'll see. But
And I agree with you. And the point you made is super important. He did
I
not go into this thinking he was joining the Eisenhower administration.
but I will say that there's also a big difference between and there's a story we can get to it about the dismissal of somebody. We've seen a little of that at DOD, and but I guess the difference is Witkoff seems like he plays well with others, right? And look, I mentioned this before. When I was the assistant U.S. trade rep, we had a constant battle with the Treasury Secretary, and also with Commerce, because they were like, well, we'll do trade and you guys can come visit the aquarium at the Commerce Department.
There's
And there's
Yeah,
there's constantly a policy and mission creep issue, but and I think more so in the Trump administration than probably anywhere else. But the one thing is that Steve Witkoff is a guy who plays well with others, and that's at least a little bit different than before with Rex Tillerson. We had a lot of people who were just
yes.
freelancing.
Again, the problem, as I understand it, it's not analysis so much as reporting. The problem is not about Witkoff. He's fine with Witkoff.
Right.
Witkoff does play well with those. The problem is the degree of chaos and disorganization is shocking to the sensibilities of someone like Marco Rubio, who's used to rules and order and like some sense of organization and like people communicating. So, Dan.
I think what's interesting, because Sean, you referenced the story that's kind of dominating in conservative media a little bit this morning about the staffer that Rubio ran out that oversaw the USAID chopping. Look, I think in my opinion, Rubio join the administration to try to ingratiate himself with MAGA to run in 2028 or 2032? Like, it is a weakness for him.
Well, but also the Senate can be a frustrating place.
Sure.
Right.
But
and also
again,
it's pretty cool to be the Secretary of State.
Well, it is, but I think he sees a longer runway for himself. And as you say, he didn't want to sit around the Senate for 40 years, and he's thinking about the future. What's interesting is you sense MAGA still doesn't like him, doesn't trust him. And so there is chaos. There are people out for him, it sounds like. And you just wonder, does he come out of this more harmed than helped by going in for his future?
So he is one of the first prominent establishment Republicans ever to have MAGA come after him, because they came after him when he tried to do a bipartisan immigration bill that had and talked about a path to legal status, right?
I worked with him on that.
Okay. So he's been through it, and his reaction to that was to go super MAGA, right? Basically say no more bipartisan immigration efforts, et cetera. And then to join the administration, be very supportive of the president. This is less for him, even though he's being hit ideologically. This is less for him, as I understand it, about ideology, to quote the Michael Dukakis line, than it is about competence. There's just simply a level of dysfunction in this foreign policy apparatus that, as I understand it, he finds shocking. Okay, we'll see. We'll see what the implications of that are. All right.
By the way, I will say this, just, Dan, you referencing the story that's in Politico. There was a guy who was charged with, executing on the USAID firings and whatever. I will tell you, I think that was overhyped by Politico in terms of that guy didn't get fired just because Marco Rubio,
right, exactly.
Like the PPO team. And this is not, without getting into it, there are a few other departments where there is a similar person that is there that I wouldn't be surprised in other places where there's one or two people that are not playing by the rules, not coloring within the lines, that I think might be pushed out. But PPO, the Presidential Personnel Office, signed off on that. That was not just a straight up headshot.
Rogue. Exactly.
Hey, want to be part of the two-way community all the time? Hit the subscribe button. Great video clips like this, plus conversations like no other, full episodes and more, always available on this channel. You got to hit subscribe to never miss a thing.